For decades, there was this one simple rule in business, one golden rule. But that rule, it's breaking, and it's taking a lot of companies down with it. So let's dive into this new, kind of fragile reality and try to figure out what's the new equation for survival. I mean, for as long as most of us can remember, this was it. This was the gospel truth, right? Every single decision, from where you get your materials to how you ship your products, it all came down to one question. How can we make this cheaper? The entire global economy was pretty much built on this one single idea. And, well, this is where the story takes a turn. That relentless focus on cost, on being lean and mean, it actually hollowed the whole system out from the inside. It's like it made our global supply chains super, super brittle, almost like glass, just waiting to shatter at the first hint of trouble. And look, this isn't some abstract, theoretical problem. This is real. Take a look at this Dior handbag case. It's wild. In Italy, investigators found subcontractors making these luxury handbags for just 53 euros. And they were doing it in sweatshop conditions using undocumented workers. These are the exact same bags that sell for 2,600 euros. That's what the extreme pressure of cost is king does. It creates a system that pushes people to cut corners and then cut them again until the whole thing just becomes, well, not just unethical, but a massive PR disaster for the brand. So the big question is, how did we get here? And more importantly, what does this all mean for businesses trying to navigate this? Okay, in this explainer, we're gonna connect the dots. First, we'll look at the pretty steep price we're all paying for efficiency. Then, we'll dig into the hidden costs that are really behind these failures. After that, we'll zoom out to see the global forces that are just pouring gasoline on this fire. And finally, we'll get to the heart of it, the new survival equation. All right, let's start with part one. This is all about what happens when that chase for cheaper just goes way, way too far. And this is the exact spot where so many business owners just feel completely trapped and exposed. Like the very systems they were told to build are suddenly catastrophically failing them. And these aren't just random one-off events. They're symptoms of a much bigger problem. Remember when KFC in the UK ran out of chicken? Yeah, they switched to a cheaper delivery partner who put everything in a single depot. One traffic accident, literally one accident on a motorway, and their entire supply chain just collapsed. We already talked about Dior and the brand damage from using unaudited companies. And of course, we all lived through the pandemic. It showed us exactly what happens when you concentrate all your production in one place to save a buck. That place shuts down, and suddenly the whole world runs out of everything. Prices go through the roof, and businesses lose their footing. So, yeah, these huge failures can feel like they come out of nowhere, right? Like lightning from a clear blue sky. But they're not random at all. There's a hidden mechanism chugging away under the surface, a financial drag that most companies don't even track. This is what's really going on behind the numbers. Okay, so it has a name. It's called the cost of poor quality, or COPQ for short. Now, this isn't just, the cost of a customer returning something. No. It's the grand total of every single expense you rack up from not doing things right the first time around. It's the wasted hours, the do-overs, the extra inspections, the sales you lose, the damage to your reputation, all of it. It's the price tag on every single mistake. And what's so powerful about this idea is how it makes you look at problems. The things we see on the surface, a product fails, a delivery's late, those are just the visible symptoms. They're not the real problem. This COPQ way of thinking forces you to be a detective, to dig deeper and deeper, past the obvious causes, to find the actual root cause. And guess what? It's almost always buried in some process that was designed only for saving money, with zero thought given to quality or, its ability to withstand a shock. Okay, to make this super concrete, a case study actually calculated this. The average cost just to appraise a single complaint about a single bad part found during final testing was €4.98. Now, that might not sound like a lot, right? But just imagine that cost multiplying. Thousands of parts, multiple stages of production, suddenly it's a huge number. These little hidden costs are everywhere, and they're just bleeding companies dry, drop by drop. So you might be asking, how on earth do you even find these costs? Well, there's a method for it. It's called activity-based costing. So instead of just throwing all your expenses into these big, vague buckets like overhead, this method actually traces the money. It's like a forensic accountant for your operations. It connects the cost of resources to specific activities, like, say, investigating a customer complaint, and then connects that cost to the final product. It gives you this incredibly clear map of where your money is really going and which parts of your process are secretly just money pits. Okay, so this internal weakness, this brittleness, has always been a hidden risk. But now there are these massive forces out in the world that are turning those tiny, hidden cracks into giant, gaping canyons. So let's zoom out for a minute and look at the 4 huge forces that are reshaping global trade right now as we speak. So according to a big analysis by Boston Consulting Group, there are 4 megatrends that you absolutely cannot afford to ignore. First up, you've got the rise of what they call economic statecraft. That's basically politics messing with trade. Second, there's the growing risk from climate change, which disrupts literally everything. Third is the explosion of robotics, which is totally changing the math on labor costs. And finally, there's this intense, fierce competition for actual human talent, the skilled people who make supply chains run. Let's just double-click on that first one for a second. Economic statecraft, because, wow, this is a real game changer. The whole idea of a world with perfectly free-flowing trade, that's kind of over. Governments are now using tools like tariffs, subsidies, and sanctions as weapons to get what they want politically and to protect their own industries. Your business is no longer in a bubble separate from geopolitics. It's right in the middle of it. And this number right here, it just says it all. At one point, the US slapped tariffs of up to 145% on some goods coming from China. I mean, a tariff that high doesn't just tweak your business model, it completely vaporizes it. It makes your whole cost is king strategy totally, utterly useless, literally overnight. So what you have is this perfect storm, right? You've got this fragility on the inside of the company, and it's colliding with this massive volatility on the outside. The old way of doing things is officially broken. Which brings us to our final section. What is the new survival equation? What do businesses have to do to make it through what's coming? And this leads us to the big idea, the new term we need to understand, the cost of resilience. Now hold on, this isn't about just throwing money away or ignoring costs, not at all. It's about reframing it. It's thinking of it as a strategic investment in being agile. It's the price you pay to build a business that can bend but doesn't break. A business that can take a hit, whether it's from politics or the climate or whatever comes next, and just keep on ticking without completely wiping out its profits. So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, the old model was all about having one single, super efficient global supply chain. The new model? It's about having multiple sources, multiple networks. The old model was obsessed with being lean. The new model is about strategically building in some slack, some redundancy. So instead of putting all your eggs in one giant factory basket because it's efficient, the new way is to use shared production lines, maybe joint ventures, anything to spread out the risk. And that really leaves us with this one last big question. For decades, the only question that mattered was, how can we be cheaper? But the world has changed. That's not the right question anymore. The new question, the one that's going to decide who survives and who disappears, is this. When the next big disruption hits, and trust me, it will, what is the true cost of being the cheapest? This independent analysis was prepared by SimplifyNumbers.com.